Welcome back to the Unacceptable News. I am on the ground underneath of our raspberry plants, and I just want to show you something silly, and that's this bag of dirt. Now, when raspberries grow, they are pretty prolific growers. So, we've got this massive raspberry plant above us. I would say it's about 10 feet tall or so, maybe 12 feet tall at this current stage. So what I do is I bend over the stalks. You can see up there. Let me actually stand up and show you. So I bend these stalks over like so. I tie them down with a little bit of string. I'm very careful not to harm the plant. The reason I do this is because when they get really tall, they get unruly, and I want them to touch the ground. Now, when they touch the ground, they will essentially replant themselves into another location. So what you can do is you can take one of these vines, you can put it into the ground, put it into a bag of moist soil. All right, I use a zip tie or a twist tie to hold it on, and you make sure that you're very careful. And you can, in a few months, you can cut this off right here. It will grow roots in the bag, and you can move it to a new location when, for instance, this entire row is just crowded. So even though these vines are growing and they are planting themselves, like this vine right here, we can see has planted itself, I don't know, about 6 feet or so away from the mother plant. The issue is that this whole area is just too overgrown. There's just not enough space over here to take on more plants, whether they're raspberries or blackberries, it really doesn't matter. So by doing this to multiple, we've got, you can see in here, we've got multiple of these bags that are tied off and they're zipped up. All right, here's two more right here. And these are tied off to and suspended on the raspberry plant. I chose to show you these ones on the ground because they're a little bit easier to see, but there's some nice moist coco coir, a little bit of compost in here. It's nicely moisturized. You can see the dew in the bag, and then all I'm doing is dipping this in there and zip tying it. I'm very gentle not to break the branch. You will, if you are trying to do this, you may break the tips off of your plant. So just be very careful if you try to do this. In about 2 months or so, this entire head will grow a new root system. You can clip it off from the mother plant, and you can take this entire thing and move it somewhere else. So anywhere that you've got room, everybody knows that blackberries and raspberries tend to run. They're very similar to strawberries. If left unattended, they will continually grow in two ways. They will replant themselves, like the vine that I already showed you, or they will start growing brand new sprouts like this one from the roots of the plant. So they will just start popping up brand new plants all around the base of the original plant. And so with all that kind of growth, now you can dig down and pull the new plants out. You can dig here and you can cut that plant out and you can move it, but you will be disturbing the root system of the main plant. And so in order to prevent, from doing that, you can use this technique. You can kind of train the vines to root themselves, clip them off yourself, and simply move them to a location that you like a little more, or has a better sun or better nutrients or whatever it may be. And so we've got, I believe, 8 or 9 of these plants that we are training and growing new root systems so we can transplant to a new location. And in the fall, a lot of this will be clipped back. So when the leaves die off, when all the berries are gone, the flowers are gone, a lot of this will be clipped. And then every year what I do is, so you see these vines that I've tied off, I've showed you that already. I weave. Now you can't really see it, but there's a fence back here. It's about a 4 foot, maybe a 4 foot tall fence. I weave all of my vines through this fence horizontally to fill out this area. And the reason I do that, if I stood these up, like I said, they're about 12 feet tall. So you know, they reach up to easily the side of the house here and will touch that corner of the house if you stand them straight up. They may not look like it, but they are, you know, if you see that corn and you see how tall the corner of the house is right there, they are easily that tall, maybe taller. So it just becomes a pain. It's difficult to get in and out of here. They're blowing in the wind. Sometimes the wind is bad enough it'll break the canes. So you know, they naturally want to flop over anyway. So all I do is kind of just very softly flip them, tie them off, and what ends up happening is this: when you tie them over, you get this type of growth here, where you get a plant that literally starts growing horizontally out of the main shoot, which is exactly how they grow anyway. But you're just kind of training them to do what you want to do in the space that you provided. And then anything excess, like next year, a lot of these canes for these blackberries will be cut back. It's just far too much growth. The area really just can't support growing that much, that many plants. So when the plant's done with the berries, I will clip some of these back like I do every year. And some of them I will move. You know, if it gets too crowded, I will go in here with a shovel and I will move some of these. But essentially, once they've overgrown your area, you have two choices. You can either start killing them, which seems like a waste. You put all this effort into growing these beautiful plants, so why not train them and move them? And that's really all I have to say for today. Have a good one.